Hotep, Anku Jasaneb. I am very glad to be here, and thank you all for coming out to hear my presentation this evening. Du'au, du'au, du'au. Can you hear me? Because I have a mic on. No. Okay, let's start again. Yim Hotep, Anku Jasaneb. Yim Hotep means come with satisfaction. Anku Jasaneb means life, prosperity, and health to you all. Thank you. Du'au, du'au, du'au. That's thank you, thank you, thank you for having me come out this evening to Detroit to talk about the book of Peret Imheru. That topic was chosen for me by the Detroit Study Group. And since you had been listening to Brother Ben Levy talk about the Bible and the Qur'an, I guess they thought that it just would follow that we would also talk about one of the sacred books from Kemet. So it's an exciting book, and I'm sure you all are curious about it. So that's my topic for this evening. I have a PowerPoint presentation I'm going to be showing as I talk along, and I actually forgot my to put my PowerPoint presentation on my flash drive, and so the geniuses of technology here fixed it up for me so that it would work. One second, just gonna. The book that I'm going to be talking about this evening is called The Book of the Dead by Wallace Budge. I said that because many of you have perhaps already read this book, owned this book, tried to get through it in reading it and trying to understand it. I'd just like to see a show of hands of how many people have actually attempted to read this book or have this book.
Where's the transmitter? Where's the transmitter?
It's in the back.
I'm not trying to make it.
Okay.
See if it's going. Go ahead.
Okay, is that good?
Yes.
Wonderful. Just wonderful. Dua. Okay. So most of the people in the room have actually either owned a copy of this particular book by Wallace Budge called The Book of the Dead, or have perhaps looked at it in the library and tried to read it and understand it. So what I would like to do this evening is try to shed some light on what the book is really about, the meaning of the book, and the purpose of the book. That's the most important thing, the purpose. What was it used for, and could it be of any value for us today? The book is very old, first of all. The book goes back thousands of years, and by that I mean at least 10,000 years before Christ. The book is found in the early periods of Kemetic history, early dynastic, if you wish. And it's found written just chapters or parts of it on the pyramid, in the pyramid texts, inscribed on monuments and inscribed on papyrus, and in a lot of different places, just individual chapters. And throughout the historical period, these chapters are put together by people to make a larger papyrus, which we can call book. This literature is obviously very important because it continued to be read and used from about 5000 BC all the way to the end of Kemetic history. It was used continuously for that long. And we are still using it today. We still read it today. So for that many thousands of years, this book has been very special, and that's why we really need to take a look at it and pay attention to it and see and ask ourselves what was so special about this book. The book is written in Medu Necher, for those of you who may not know that. Medu Necher is the name of the language that was spoken by the people in the Happy Nile Valley over 10,000 for about 10,000 years before Christ, and actually even longer than that. Whenever, when I say a date like 5,000, 10,000, 3,000, no matter what thousand date I say, one of the things that I always have to reflect upon is when I read other people's history, when I read the history of Native Americans, for example, they say their history goes back 26,000 years that they have knowledge of. When I look at the history of the Chinese people, they put their history back 15,000 years. Everybody puts their history, dates their history and the knowledge of their past in the double-digit thousands, except us. When we struggle with trying to deal with, should it be 3,000 BC, should it be 4,000 BC, should it be 10,000 BC, we struggle with something totally ridiculous, and everybody else on the planet pushes their dates back very far. And I know that they are not, well, they may be, but they probably are not as old or have as old a civilization and culture as the African Kemites did. So think about that next time we quote dates. I'm not going to talk about all of the different versions of the Book of Coming Forth by Day. I think I want to just kind of get into it, but I need to start by saying, one, it is not the Book of the Dead. It is not the Book of the Dead. It's nothing about death in this book, even though Wallace Budge and others call it the Book of the Dead. It is actually about living, and it's actually about the living and living and living again in the next life. It has nothing to do with death. That's the first thing we need to know. And I'm going to show you the title of the book and the papyrus and all of that in a moment. So let's just, in Kemet, there were no holy books like the Bible and the Qur'an. That's important. There were no holy books like the Bible and the Qur'an. This is not a holy, well, it is not a book like the Bible or the Qur'an. In other words, it's not a book that you should pick up every day and think it's going to teach you how to live a better life. It's not that kind of a book. There were no religious doctrines in ancient Kemet. So, for example, in the Bible, we have religious doctrines like the Book of Laws and the Proverbs and the laws in particular. There's nothing like that. This book is not that. This is not a religious doctrine. There were no written laws. As a matter of fact, Kemet itself didn't have the kind of justice or judicial system that we're used to in the West. They did not have any written laws. Their society was based upon living life according to the principles of Ma'at. And Ma'at, which we're going to talk about in a moment, was the basis or the foundation of their society. And it was not written down. Ma'at is not a book of written laws that the society is supposed to follow. There was no comprehensive history, written history of a people. That means, for example, in the Bible you have, especially in the New Testament, you have the genealogy from Abraham through Jesus, and you have a genealogy. And in the Old Testament you have a history from Adam to Moses and all of the others. We don't have anything like that in Kemet. And this book is definitely not that either. In Kemet, people lived their lives based upon the principles of Ma'at. They had much plentiful moral and ethical teachings. And you can read some of these through translations, and they're wonderful to read, teaching people how to live their lives, how to be honest, good, moral, ethical people. There were many books or scrolls about the afterlife, and that is what the collection of